lane. We're going to have two cars. Karen Chandok now in the car, ready to go.
Of the formation lap. Green flag for the start of the formation lap.
And that is our race director live to us here at Spa as the green flag waves for the sighting formation lap of the second round of the FIA World Endurance Championship, live here from the Ardennes region of Europe. John Hindhaugh and Graham Goodwin to be joined by our powered by...
To the teams, please advise your drivers that the holes on the grid are to be kept. The blank, the vacant spaces on the grid are to be maintained.
Now that's very interesting and a good point from our race director. Nick Damon, our Powered by Nissan pit lane reporter, will be joining us throughout, as will Louise Beckett, we hope, down in the pit lane so that we can keep you up to date. And it is a 6-hour timed race, remember, no more 1,000 kilometres. This will finish, weather permitting, 6 hours after we drop the green flag at the start of the race. Now you can see, looking down on the Kemmel Straight, the Quattro leading, part-time Quattro at least. As out comes the JRM car. That is remarkable. What a job these guys have done. It's less than an hour since that car was planted in the wall. We've got a spinner, and that's the pole sitter. That's the pole sitter in the GTE arm. And that was right at the start of the lap. GT Pro, excuse me. Fred McAfee weaving left and right as he came down out of La Source. And Fred Macco has dropped it. Now he won't be allowed to retake his grid position, I don't think.
He won't. I think he stalled it as well. It stopped at the exit of turn 1. That car is in some trouble, John. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. On any resource we've got that you've not got on air at the moment, but certainly this field had gone by. No sign of Fred actually joining in. He may well have not had space to turn that car around there, John.
Wet track but no rain here at Spa as we're getting ready to go World Endurance Championship racing. 6 hours on the clock. The first of the double six for us here at RadioLeMans.com, as we'll be at Snetterton tomorrow. We hear that McAfee has rejoined. I believe that's what we heard from the race director there.
Yep, I think I heard that too. It does indeed now get confirmed on the timing and scoring screens. Car 59 has rejoined, so Fred Macco will be in full-on attack mode when this race goes green,
which is about 3 or 4 minutes away. The Audi e-tron Quattros will start first and third. One green flag lap, as we have just on 2 minutes to the official start time.
Great looking grid of prototypes, John.
Very.
All cars should prepare for a grid formation. Please start grouping up. GT cars, please catch up with the pack. You're too far behind.
I'm loving getting this access to the race director.
It's, I think, part of what they're trying to do with the FIA WEC is to make it more accessible. I can barely remember any endurance race that's been easier to actually follow. Lights are off on that safety car.
The RS5 leading the two versions of the R18, the e-tron Quattro and the R18 Ultra. The Lotus number 32 in the background there, ready to go from pit lane, and the GRM car sitting ready to go as well. That is an awesome shot as the prototype field keeps coming towards the camera.
GT cars, please close up. GT cars, please close up.
There is Jimmy Bruni.
Cristiano Michelotto. Looking grin on his face, Jimmy. He didn't have a grin on his face after Sebring, did he?
No. And he was $25,000 worse off as well after a somewhat questionable performance in the closing laps. The RS5 pulls away.
Speed now, constant speed, group up, and 2 lines of cars, please, as requested.
It's down to Tom Christensen and Marco Bononomi to get this right.
What a moment for Bononomi.
Front row start and his debut for the Works team. There's a lot of very new, young faces down at Audi. And there is the Lotus rolling to the end of the pit lane, the 32 car. That'll be Luca Morro that'll start that car.
I've got a feeling, John, that wasn't the JRM car. That looked to me like the Norma in the pit lane.
Okay, I'll give you that. Green flag, and we're racing at Spa-Francorchamps, and Tom Christensen makes sure that he claims his line, and following him through is Andre Lotterer in the second of the e-tron Quattros. That kind of makes sense. He'll have had a bit of drive, one or two cars going wide. Is that the Strata car just being pushed out wide? And goodness me, look at what you can see going down into Eau Rouge, answer nothing at all. And in fact, it looks like Bononomi is retaking his second position there after Lotterer went through for a moment at least over the top of the rise and onto the Kemmel Straight for the first time.
And really, that spray is blinding stuff, isn't it? As they're coming down the Kemmel Straight at some pace. And again, we've got the Quattro goes this time around the outside of Bononomi. It's a Quattro 1-2, an Ultra 3-4. Then the Rebellions, I think, are together still, John, as they come through.
There's the 25 car going through. John Martin has looked to have lost a few places there as he was turning in. And straight on one of the Gulf cars. And that is the 29 car.
Chandani Delatraz. That was a car struggling this morning with a non-operative windscreen wiper. He's going to need it at the moment, isn't he? This car, as we were saying earlier in the broadcast, John, is going to have to get through this 6 hours with just those 2 drivers after the injury in that rather freak pit lane accident to Frédéric Fatien. But away the Audis go, and they're beginning to pull away already. The Quattro's pulling away from the Ultras, and the Ultras pulling away from the Rebellion Lola Toyotas.
So already the 2 e-tron Quattros making that part-time Quattro work for them. All that power going through the front wheels, but only above 120 kilometers an hour. It is Andrea Bellicchi in. Oh, there's a huge conflagration at the back of the P2 field there, right in front of the GT leaders. And there is the JRM and the Lotus. They haven't been, they're going to have to lose a lap, of course. That is the rule that carried forward from ILMC. If you start from the pit lane, you have to lose a full lap, so they won't be released until the whole field has gone through at the completion of lap number 1.
It was indeed the JRM car that was still in pit lane.
Now, I have to say, I thought that was only if you changed an engine or a gearbox, and JRM didn't do that. The Lotus did. I thought the JRM car could have been out at the end of when everyone else has gone through. I'll have to look at the rule book for that. End of the first lap then, 7 kilometres down, and the lap time is 2:24 for Tom Christensen, who leads by half a second, perhaps a little more. Andre Lotterer in the number 1 car in second, Marco Bononomi in third, but he's already some 4 seconds back on the 2 e-trons. Then Marc Genet, Andrea Bellicchi for Rebellion, Johnny Kane for Strata in 6th, Bertrand Baguette in 7th for Alt Racing. Darren Turner has assumed the lead of the Pro category.
And he's up into 21st position as they were coming around there, John. Let's keep an eye on whether they can maintain that, but he's well ahead at the moment of the competitors in GT Pro.
Now, we've just been handed an official notification from the stewards of the meeting about Lotus number 32 getting its penalty for 1 lap under the control of race control. But I'm sure that shouldn't apply to JRM. They could have gone. They should have been out of there.
The only possibility is with that damage, John, they may have changed the gearbox as well as that rear corner. They may have done both at the same time, in which case the penalty would apply. But Christensen now quicker again in the first sector as he comes round on his second lap. 38.4 seconds, the mark to look for as we go through there. And that's the dome ahead of one of the Rebellions, John.
Yes, it's Yanni and Sebastian Bourdais battling it out for 8th and 9th position, and Sebastian Bourdais has taken that position.
And that must mean Yanni's had a very poor first lap, because he was, what, 4th, 6th overall on the grid. But the dome clearly ahead of the Rebellion Lola Toyota.
Fantastic to see these guys circulating. Good start, just to reiterate, Aston Martin lead the GT category as the 2 Audi R18 Ultras make good their escape. And Olivier Lombard is well down in the 23 Signatech. In fact, that car's come into the pit lane.
It's in the pit lane, very early pit call. That must be one of the cars involved in that. If it wasn't coming together, it's darn close. And Elton Julian in the Greaves Motorsport car, another one that looks to be involved. Olivier on his way again, though, shown as leaving the pits right now. But Greaves Motorsport's 41 car and the 23 Signatech Oregon Nissan both in trouble. And as we've got the 2 Quattros now nose to tail, John.
Cross the line to complete the lap. And listen to the quietness, if that makes any sense. They are so hushed And the addition of the electric power actually seems to have quieted them down even a little bit more as they whoosh past the come-and-go camera at the bottom of the hill. Just picking up on the P2 category, it's still the Morgan of Olivier Pla leading from John Martin. I thought he dropped a few more positions than that, to be honest, Graham. But holding on to second from Sam Hancock in the Zytek 38, the Jota car in third. Fourth, Sohail Ayari.
And so you're right with Sam now, right on the tail of the Jota Zytek Nissan. And just look, John, at the difference in pace at the moment in these conditions between the two Quattros and the remaining field.
2:21 and 2:20 for the leading two cars, 2:24.5 by the normal, in inverted commas, two-wheel drive versions of the car. Nick Damon has joined us up from the Powered by Nissan pit lane, and the weather breaking just at the right time, Dick.
Yeah, I mean, suddenly it was very dry. Broke at the right time for me because people came out on the grid to talk to. Interesting conversation with Ralph Jutner. He says that definitely the Quattro has an advantage in the wet. They're surprised by how much it's turned out to be from today's performance. And he also said he's missing Peugeot.
Well, aren't we all? The 19 car has missed turn 5.
I think that's his 29. I think that's a mistake on the timing and score.
Gulf Racing Middle East, we saw that earlier, so that's fine.
Yeah, so we've got Sebastien Bourdais now beginning to close down on Bertrand Baguette in the Oak Racing Pescarolo ahead.
7th and 8th.
So there's battles going on despite the kind of dominance at the moment by the two pairs of Audis. I think we might be describing them as that for some while yet.
And there is the 29 car that went straight on. That was Jean-Denis Delatraz, wasn't it, who was in that car? And it's in the pit lane, and there's some concern about the right rear. Here's the start again, and look there, Lotterer definitely got through into second place into La Source, but by the time we see it again,
I have a feeling that Lotterer must have gone wide there.
We see this a lot into La Source in any sort of, and that was a very close start, even standing starts, is that you can get ahead, but it's not necessarily the best line for the exit as well. People get a better drive coming out of the corner. Obviously below 120 kilometres, you get much better drive with the four-wheel drive Quattro. As out comes the 29 car after receiving some attention for the problems that these cars have been beset with. The 28 and 29 have really had a checkered couple of races, Graham.
They have rather. They're yet to really shine as much as their very famous colour scheme does. We're looking for a rather better race performance from Gulf Racing Middle East this weekend.
Just to give you an idea, we are something like 20 seconds away from the qualifying pace that was set by Alan McNish.
Yep, 2:20.416 for Andre Lotterer in the lead of the race. Now he's taken the lead. The number one car has gone ahead. 2:20.418 for Andre, fastest race lap so far. And that's still comparing with 2:23s for the Ultras, 2:26, 2:27s for the best of the petrol cars.
Now, an interesting thing happened on the grid is that both the hybrids changed their tyres with about 30 seconds to go for a different set of brand new Michelins. Now, I assume we may well have soft wet and hard wet. The tread look the same, but they put a completely new set on. Of course, they aren't allowed to warm them up, so there's no real advantage in doing that unless they've gone for a slightly different compound. And of course, it did dry out, and I think the drying out is actually surprising a lot of people, that we were expecting a lot more rain until 4 or 5 o'clock, but it stopped rather beautifully at 2 o'clock.
Yep, it did indeed, and LMP1 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 3 in terms of the car numbers for the Audi R18s. The Quattro still leading the Ultras as the two hybrid cars make their way past that rather delayed 29 Gulf Middle East Lola Nissan. Then we've got Andrea Bellicchi leading the petrol order in the first of the Rebellion Lola Toyotas.
Oh my goodness me, Delatraz didn't make that easy for the number one Audi.
I will say one thing, that if Toyota haven't already decided to use their hybrid on the front wheels, they will have by now.
No, they haven't. They've gone to the back. And that's
a mistake, isn't it?
They've tried both of it, but they feel there's a yellow flag out there on the start of the Kemmel Straight. Let's see if we can see what that is for. It's very, very difficult to see anything there, isn't it? Let's be honest, but that is a passful position. The IMSA Matmut car on our left on the inside, and the Felbermeyer car.
And that's the 2011 spec Porsche, trying to get past the 2012 spec Porsche.
That
Mark
shouldn't be happening, really, should
Nicholas
it?
Armindo, but Armindo, something of a star, I have to tell you. He's the pro driver behind the GTR effort from IMSA Performance Matmut.
Also, I spoke to Mark Lieb in the pit lane during the autograph, and they've done very, very little riding with this new car in the wet. And there's been a Michelin test day, and that's it. He's not driven the car in the wet at all. And it is significantly different, isn't it, John? It's not the usual one-on-one evolution of a 911 this year.
Greaves Motorsport in the pit lane and going back into the garage. These are effectively the defending champions of this series. All right, we didn't have a WEC World Endurance Championship, but its precursor, the ILMC, from last year.
They won the LMS.
The LMS, sorry,
of course they were. There's Elton Jr. looking a bit rueful.
He's been off. There was mud on that car.
And also, of course, won the Le Mans 24 Hours, but they're running cars in this championship and in the European Le Mans series this year with both cars. One of them, of course, featuring the family Brundle, together with Lucas Ordonez, and we've got the 43 car off into the gravel as well there, John.
Yeah, and that is the Norma, the Extreme Limit car. We thought that had started way down. Now that is going to bring out a safety car if that can't be moved. It's down at turn number 14, which is at the bottom of the hill. Campus it's called now.
They're certainly clearly indicating that car is going to require a tow.
So unfortunately, engaged reverse, floored it and just dug the thing in, which is we did see. Who did we see escape from the gravel this morning? It was Johnny.
It was Johnny Kane after a very uncharacteristic off.
Some good gravel driving, and that's the example of not good gravel driving. I know it's hard once you're in there, but it'd be interesting to see if they can clear this one. But they're going to have to get the tractor. I think you're right, John. We'll see a safety car, which would be good news for everyone apart from the two hybrids.
It's Philippe Haysbrook at the wheel of that car, not an auspicious start. Still watching this Porsche battle, which is the Porsche AM car, the red, white and blue tricolour coloured car. He's the AM leader with Nicolas Armindo right up the tailpipes of Mark Lieb.
And they're getting away, John, both those Porsches from a car I think both of them have gone by, which is Giancarlo Fisichella in the 51 AF Corsa car, but catching, I believe, yes they are, Andrea Bertolini in the other AF Corsa GTE Pro car.
There it is,
car.
Right in the front of the shot there, Graham, as it goes through the first little right-hand kink on the Kemmel straight. And that, by the way, Mark Lieb is third in the GT Pro category. So if we had a single GT class, last year's Porsche, leading GT AM at the moment, is in fourth place on pace.
Is in fourth place on pace. And I have to ask myself the question we talked a little while ago, John, about how long it's been since we had a wet international sports car race, with the possible exception of Petit Le Mans 2009. It's been some time, and my guess would be that Giancarlo Fisichella has not had a lot of wet track time in a GT car.
I'll give you that. It's John Hindhaugh, Graham Goodwin and Nick Damon live from Spa. Good to have your company, as the rain stopped about 3/4 of an hour to an hour ago, and the track is clearly beginning to dry with these very, very impressive wet weather tyres that the manufacturers bring now. Andre Lotterer last time around was a 220.7. We certainly had a quicker lap than that, 220.4 from Lotterer early on, and it is, by the way, Lotterer leading now. We missed the two Audi swapping around.
We mentioned that briefly. We missed it happening on track. We mentioned it briefly, but rather interestingly, Tom Christensen, as the Audis are getting in amongst traffic now, 222.8 for Tom last time. My guess is that is traffic related. Just looking at the kind of cars that have been delayed there, it is 40 starters with the withdrawal of that AF Waltrip Ferrari we were talking about earlier, John. Karen Chundok now beginning to make his way through the delayed cars, 37th position, but still 3 laps down the leaders.
Now there is a battle for position. Two giants of the French motor racing scene in Oak Racing and Pescarolo, best of friends away from the track, are the principals of these teams. But 7th and 8th on the track at the moment, and there'll be no quarter asked or given.
I know, the rather odd situation there is you've got a car that bears Pescarolo's name from a team that bears Pescarolo's name and a car that doesn't, and it's an interesting battle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think we expect to see maintained through to June and at Le Mans too, but these are the kind of teams that I think, to be honest with you, a lot of the fans come to watch and cheer on.
The green flashes on the Dome 102.5 in homage, of course, to Henri Pescarolo, who is here this weekend and was in fine form last night, as the two luxury Ferraris have a little internecine scrap at the end of the lap. That's on the...
It was the amateur car that went, the 58 that fell off.
It's Gunnar, isn't it? I think it was Gunnar Jeanette.
Yeah.
And,
interestingly, when we saw the Pescarolo and the Oak, the last time those two drivers were in the track together was in the IRL last year. And Baguette and Bourdais are both driving around together.
There you go. And actually, just to catch up with what's going on in GTM, Nicolas Armindo, we've been talking about, leads that class from the 81 car, and that's the 43 car's gone round again, John.
Spun again.
I think it's the same corner.
And that is Haysbrook still at the wheel. Oh, he's got his back wheels on the grass and he can't move now.
You have to wait.
And now,
and away
gently,
Marco Giocci in the 81, they of course Ferrari, the fourth of their GT cars that was entered here.
Yellow flags have been removed.
Gunnar Jeanette sitting in third at the moment in GTE AM standings, and the first of the WEC entries. That says Corvette running quite slowly. Why is that? That's because he's had a heck of a wiggle and a spin at Radion, a half spin at Radion, but recovered it.
That would be my definition of a tank zapper.
Yep, and that is Jean-Christophe Belloc.